You're not making progress in the gym because of one of these three reasons. Reason number one, you're not training hard enough. Reason number two, you're not eating enough. And reason number three, you're not consistent enough inside of the gym. So if you're a guy who's not making the progress that you feel as though you deserve so far on your lifting journey, watch this video because we'll figure out exactly what your problem is and I'll tell you exactly how you can fix it. Reason number one is if you're not training hard enough, you can't expect to be making enough progress inside of the gym. Because everything else like recovery and eating, which is what we're going to go into, none of that matters if you're not actually training hard and pushing your muscles as hard as they can go. So there's the three laws of strength training, which I'm going to teach you right now. And if you know these three laws, then it will allow you to always make sure you're training hard enough and making all the progress that you deserve inside of the gym. So the first law is you have to be training to failure. This means every single exercise that you do, you want to be going to failure. So you fail on the last rep. Let's say we're doing bicep curls. My first set, I do 8 reps. My second set, I do 8 reps. And then on my third set, I reach failure, which is I try and go for 8 reps, but I can't get the 8th rep. I fail it. That's how I know I've reached failure and I've completely worn out the muscle on that exercise. This allows you to squeeze all of the energy that you have out of your muscles and make sure that you actually strip them down enough to be able to build them back stronger and better. So you always have to be training to failure. Secondly, you have to be training for progressive overload. So this means every single week you want to be adding on extra weight to the exercise. So how does this work? This works by either adding reps or adding sets to a movement. So let's take it back to bicep curls. Let's say this week I do 8 reps with 10 kilos. Next week I'm going to try and do 10 reps with the Next week I'm going to try and do 10 reps with 10 kilos. The following week 12 reps with 10 kilos. And then once you get to 12, you up the weight and reset to 8 reps. So now I'm going to do 12 kilos and 8 reps. 12 kilos and 10 reps, 12 kilos and 12 reps. And then I'm going to go up to 14 or 15 kilos and start again at 8. By progressively overloading your muscles every single week, you make sure that your muscle growth never gets stagnant and it's always having to adapt and constantly change. Because your muscles will get used to weight. So if you just keep repping out the same weight over and over every week, every month, you're not going to make any progress. Your muscle's going to realize, oh, I can do this weight easily now. So it's not going to challenge itself and it's not going to try and build back stronger and better. This is why you always have to be progressively overloading your muscles. So make sure you're training to failure on every single exercise, and also every week you want to be upping the weight or upping the reps to make sure you're progressively overloading. And the third law is you want to be training for hypertrophy. There are 2 different types of training. You can train for hypertrophy or you can train for strength. If you're a power lifter, you're going to train for strength. This is why you notice like the power lifters in the gym, even if they can lift a lot of heavy weight, they're not usually the biggest guys there. If you look at this guy Anatoly, you've probably seen his videos where he pretends to be a cleaner, but actually he's a power lifter and he lifts up the weight all the big bodybuilders are doing. He's a power lifter. So he can lift a lot of weight, but he doesn't look that big. But here we're trying to put on the most amount of muscle and the most amount of weights because we're bodybuilding. So this is why we train for hypertrophy. And that's just doing higher reps and lower weight. So whereas if you're training for strength in your biceps, you might do, let's say, 20 kilos but only manage to do 5 reps. If you're training for hypertrophy, training to get bigger muscles, you're going to do maybe 10 kilos, but you're going to aim to do 15 reps. It's more volume and this will allow you to build bigger muscle over time. Of course, still challenge yourself with the weight and increase it and increase the sets like we talked about just now. But it's not about doing the maximum amount of weight for just a few reps. You want to be getting at least 10 reps per set. And if you do that, then you'll make sure you're actually training for hypertrophy and building bigger and stronger muscles, which is our goal right now. By the way, if you're watching this video and you're a skinny guy and you're trying to put on mass and build more muscle to get a bigger frame, then check out the top link in the description where you'll find my full system I can help you implement to go from skinny to jacked in just 90 days. If that sounds interesting to you, check it out after watching this video, top link in the description. But let's move on to the second mistake. The second reason why you're not making the progress that you want to is because you're not eating enough. Now do you know exactly how to train hard in the gym, train to failure, push your muscles with progressive overload and make sure you're training for hypertrophy and not just strength? Now you need to know how to eat properly, because even if you train hard, you're not going to be able to put on the size and the mass if you're not eating enough, and especially eating enough of the right things. So the first thing is you need to be in a calorie surplus. If you're watching this channel, it's quite likely that you're skinny like I was starting out. So what you want to be doing is eating a calorie surplus. So how do you do this? Calculate your maintenance level of calories. I'll link a calculator down below. You can check out my program where we do it for you inside of the WOP. However, you can just start with the link that I'll put in the description and calculate your maintenance level of calories. Just put in your weight and height or something like that, and then it will give you a number. Let's say it's 2,500 calories. This means that if you eat 2,500 calories every single day, you'll maintain the same weight. But we want to put on size and build more muscle. So we want to be in a surplus, which is eating more than that. So all you want to do is do a 300 to 500 calorie surplus on top of your maintenance level. So if your maintenance is 2,500, aim for 2,800 to 3,000 calories per day. This will allow you to steadily build muscle, put on more size while reducing the amount of fat that you're putting on. Because you'll see guys do stuff like eating in a 1,000 calorie surplus or even more. But this just results in them putting on a lot of fat and it doesn't end up being muscle. And then when they go to cut all of that fat off, they don't actually have that much muscle to show for it. However, if you lean bulk, which is what I teach you on this channel and in my program, top link in the description, this will show you exactly how you can sustainably bulk up in a way that puts on a lot of mass and muscle but minimizes fat gain. So you still have a six-pack even though you're bulking up. But especially if you're skinny right now, don't be afraid to put on some weight. I know maybe you look in the mirror one day and you've eaten a big meal the day before and you see a bit fat and you feel a bit fat, but really you're not. You're still skinny, but you're just not used to seeing yourself with more weight, more size on your body. So you're going to need to get rid of that limiting belief because that's what's keeping you skinny right now. Don't be afraid to put on some weight, especially if it's muscle and mass, and eventually you'll be able to cut it off because it's so much harder to build up mass and muscle. It will take months, even years. But to cut off the fat, maximum 1 to 2 months. So it's delayed gratification. You might put on a bit of size now, which might not be what you want. You want to be lean and shredded. But by lean bulking, you're not even putting on that much weight. You're putting on a lot of muscle. And then you can just cut that down in less than a month if you do this properly. And then you'll be shredded. You'll still be lean, but you'll have so much more muscle mass, which is exactly what we're aiming for. So make sure you eat in a calorie surplus and don't be afraid of putting on some weight. It's actually good for you and it's exactly what you want to be doing. And finally, just remember this number, 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight. So let's say you're 120 pounds, make sure you're getting 120 grams of protein per day. 150 pounds, 150 grams of protein per day. Just remember this 1-to-1 conversion in your mind at all times and track everything that you're eating, especially the protein count. You want to be tracking your calories and specifically your protein. Make sure you get 1 gram per pound of body weight every single day and make sure you're hitting your calorie surplus every single day, which is your maintenance, plus 300 to 500 extra calories, and this will allow you to lean bulk sustainably so that you can put on the size that you need. The final mistake is that you're not consistent at all in the gym. Now you know how to train hard, how to eat enough so you're in a calorie surplus, you're putting on size. You know how to train hard enough in the gym to make sure you're building the muscle that you want. This is great. But it only makes you progress if you're consistent with it. You show up every single day, hit your macros every day, train hard every single day you have in the gym. But the problem that many guys are having when they're starting out is consistency. Maybe they're consistent for 1 week, but then the next week they don't go to the gym at all. They don't eat enough, and they lose all of the progress that they've made. So what I want you to keep in mind is it's more important that you commit to less days but hit every single one of them rather than overcommitting and ending up falling off and not being consistent, because consistency is the most important thing. So, as an example, there's a guy that might join the gym and say, oh, I'm going to go every single day, 7 days a week, which isn't recommended, by the way. That's way too much. You need to have at least 1 rest day per week. But let's say he says he's going to go 7 days a week. It's the 1st of January, maybe. He's just set a new goal and he's excited to go. So he shows up on the 1st, the 2nd, the 3rd. But maybe on the 4th something comes up. He gets sick or he gets injured and he doesn't go on the 4th. And then the 5th, he just kind of feels a bit tired and doesn't go again. The 6th, the 7th doesn't show up again. By the end of that week, he's already forgotten about his goal and completely fallen off. But then you have someone else. 1st of January. He's setting his goals for the year and he wants to go to the gym 3 times per week. Yes, he could train more and train a bit harder, but 3 times per week is a good starting point. So he shows up on Monday, on Wednesday, and on Saturday, for example. And he feels good. leaves enough time for his body to recover, and it's not so much new stuff coming in to his routine that he falls off and ends up not being consistent. And he shows up for those days every single week. He's going to make 10 times more progress than the guy that tried to overcommit at the start and ends up not being consistent. So never forget this. Consistency is the most important thing, and consistency over intensity, especially when you're starting out. Okay, so in summary, if you're not making progress inside of the gym, first of all, make sure you're training hard enough inside of the gym. Follow the 3 laws of strength training, which I detailed at the start of this video. Secondly, make sure you're eating enough. If you're skinny, make sure you're being in a calorie surplus so you have enough calories and enough protein to be able to build the muscle that you want. And finally, make sure you're consistent with it. Commit to the amount of days you think you can reasonably show up to the gym. Don't overcommit and don't undercommit, but make sure that you can show up to every single session no matter what happens. It's better to undercommit a little than overcommit and end up quitting, falling off, and not being consistent. Consistency is everything. Okay, so now you know that. Go out there and implement this advice, and you'll start seeing so much more progress inside of the gym. I hope this video helped you, and if you're looking for the full A to Z step-by-step system guided by me personally to take you from skinny to jacked in just 90 days, check out the top link in the description. It's the cheapest price it will ever be as we've just launched, and it's already getting results for so many people. It's a proven system, and I think you'll really get some value from it. So if that sounds interesting to you and you want to make more progress than anyone else, check out the top link in the description. But if not, and you learned something from this video, like, subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next one.